Keeper is one of the first pieces I've seen in 360-degree video that's actually playing with 180-degree fields of view as well as 90-degree fields of view and directing your attention, as well as the spatialized sound and other things you're working with. And this is from a filmmaker with decades worth of experience on experimental platforms that was waiting for the cameras to catch up. And this takes you into a historical environment during the American Civil War. Others, like Aftershock, were commissioned not by entertainment offices, but by a nonprofit group that was doing water services in Nepal. And this is a really interesting piece if you check it out, because it shows you something about the scale and elevation of a place that you don't get in a traditional frame piece. But these are just passive, like 2D, sit back and watch 360-degree experiences that are coming right at your sensory apparatus. We also have things like 0 days, where instead of just watching a video, you are inhabiting the virus Stuxnet. It's giving you a very different perspective on the world to show you how different computer viruses are actually interacting with the machines they're touching. It gives you a very different sense of what those networks mean and what's happening. And you also can maybe be a tree. You can be a rainforest ecosystem. Rainforest trees are home to a huge range of different environmental factors and different systems, and it's really fun to be in these worlds where suddenly as an audience member you're challenged to think about what existence means by being put into a place where you don't necessarily have the same range of motion or ability to act as you would either watching a traditional film and looking away, or simply working with something in a smaller frame of view. Other groups are going even deeper into the ability to use the feedback data systems that you can get from a head-mounted display. Deep is a game by Owen Harris that is on the HTC Vive, and he wanted to build an environment he could go into because he is a very anxious person. He wanted something that he could use to meditate and calm down. So using a responsive belt that allows you to measure breathing, he created a world that responds to the breaths that you are taking. A beautiful, lyrical, delightful undersea world that is calming and moving, and you can spend hours in. And this is no surprise that it works, because we already have been seeing VR and this kind of design in use in medical practice for years. VR was approved by the American Food and Drug Association for use in concert with post-traumatic stress therapies as a way of modeling environments. So going back into a pre-existing memory without real peril, guided in concert with medical and direct talk therapy. This is something, if you want to look further, you can see at USC. And a lot of this work with veterans, both in terms of training people to go into environments, but also in terms of recovery. Others, at Oxford University in the UK, they had a big study out last year about people with severe anxiety disorders, who similarly were able to model environments like going on the subway, going to the supermarket, and reduce the intimidation through that experiential modeling. Again, in concert with someone guiding them through and tailoring the environments to the process of individual recovery. And then we even see applications where not just inviting people into simulated worlds or into imaginary worlds, we're going into imaginary worlds in order to build the real world. A lot of architectural firms and design firms are actually taking their three-dimensional designs of imaginary buildings that someday may be built and moving them into virtual reality, giving people a chance to walk through and fine-tune and even bring in different data systems to show how we might work through the electrics, how we might work through the plumbing, different ways to engage with different creative groups in the process of building something that you can look at and update in real time. And we even get things like 3D scanning. You can take images, you've all seen Google Street Map, but this is what it looks like from a Roomba. This is what a Roomba sees in the room. And the Roomba, of course, is smaller, but we've taken it out so that you, as the viewer, can see down and see what that room looked like after it was cleaned. And we also see the integration of different technologies like photogrammetry to create the 3D environments that you can go into and dive into inside a virtual reality environment. This is an example of a refugee camp that was rapidly mapped photogrammatically by drones. Photogrammetry is taking a bunch of two-dimensional images of a three-dimensional object or space and then knitting them together using an algorithm into a space that represents the three dimensions to scale. This is the same way they replicated the mountainside lion and Buddha that had been destroyed for projection. So we're talking about things that are largely confined in headsets right now, or that you can see through a 2D frame of view on a traditional screen. But what happens when the hardware starts to go away? When we're looking at the world that's all around us and we're adding new things into it? What happens when we're not just talking about virtual and digital worlds that are inside a place you go, but that are coming to you in the real world where you live? So we already see some of these. Snapchat. Who here has used Snapchat? I still haven't used Snapchat. But Snapchat is making a big play for augmented reality hardware. They were already doing some really incredible things with it, and I don't have the slide, apologies, with all of those crazy filters. They're doing facial mapping and responsive augmented reality to give you that weird dog face. Like to give you that rainbow barf, like that's an incredible feat of technological brilliance. It's connecting to your mouth, it's responding in real time. It's about as amazing a technological achievement as anything else we could be talking about. But it's so under the radar as innovation that we don't even stop to think about it. It's normal, we can get these crazy butterflies to fly around our face on our own black mirror that talks to the sky. We're talking about a way to enhance and augment and integrate with the real world digital ideas that we're creating, environments that may have additional streams of data or critical pieces of information, but also have the potential to shift the way that we're looking at the world on an individual customized level. So not just a world we're all sharing where we can all see that there's a kiosk over there with the conference schedule, but potentially every single person in this room could see an entirely different stage behind me. And right now we're still doing that with goggles, but all of the companies working on it are looking towards contact lens, are looking at ways to make it more part of the human body to be able to create that machine-human interface. Pretty weird, right? But what's going on in AR right now? AR displays are being used in motorcycle helmets to give drivers that dashboard that you would otherwise see on the physical machine. They're being used in work sites and industrial areas in helmets that not only show you the information you need to know about what's going on the site, but that are monitoring your behavior and your physical reactions in real time and telling you when you're too tired to continue. That are giving you those warnings that say, you're actually much more exerted than you think, you need to not lift heavy objects or operate this machinery. These are all ways that augmented reality are being applied today. We can see it in design, interior design space where this is really working quite quickly, using mapping abilities on certain phones. And when we talk about head-mounted displays like the Meta or the HoloLens, they're doing room scale mapping. It's the first thing that happens when it turns on. So as soon as you're in a room in one of those displays, it knows where everything is and is built to be able to create environments that are responding to that space around you. And when we go back and talk about things like visual monitors, retail kiosks are going to have visual interface and gestural interface. They already do in some cases, especially in things like high-end car dealerships. But increasingly, you'll see the actual stores you're going to in malls and shopping districts integrating with retail kiosks that are responding to your hands without ever touching it, that are responding to the ways that your eyes move, because it's actually quicker. It's a quicker interface than if you were making a selection yourself. It can know from the judder of your eyeball and attract attention where you ultimately want it to go. Not just on an XY axis, but also on the Z axis. So thinking about a sophistication of an interface that allows you to move as quickly and as nimbly through a digital environment screen as you would picking things up in a room. So one of the reasons that AR is much more compelling and much more highly evaluated than VR is because it's not losing the rest of your physical sensory apparatus. It's not taking things away. You'll want to do different things with it because it's about enhancement and integration and not immersion and presence. But at the same time, you're not going to have the same level of physical discomfort or potential physical error that's going to give people a terrible reaction to your environment, because you aren't taking them out of the environment. You're building a world that is shared with digital systems. And we already see some very cool installations and things like this in museums, in galleries. Connected Worlds is a great piece at the New York Hall of Science, and I wish I could bring it out here with me, but I can't, where all of those screens on the walls, they are monitoring people in the room, up to 30 people at a time. And all of those little creatures and things on the wall and the floor respond to what's moved around. You can move the logs around underneath that waterfall, and the streams will adapt and change their flow. If you go to the wall and cut down all the trees, the animals in one area will move to a different area. The entire system is built to show the interconnectedness of ecosystems and endemic biomes, so how different environments change over time, and it's built for school kids and adults who think like kids. It's a great place to play, but it also gives you an opportunity to think about the way systems interact with one another. And ultimately, where we're going is a world where we're not just creating environments or experiences that someone can go to as a destination, but that will find you and will allow you to play with your audience in different ways. And it's a great moment to be talking about it right now, because we don't know what that looks like yet. We're all working in these environments in a state of play. If you're coming in and experimenting now, you will be the ones finding the answers that people in 10 years will look back on. So we're building a world together that includes all of these interactivities, that include all of these potential experiences, but that can and should be guided by as many people experimenting around the world as can be managed. To wrap it up, I'm really interested in how we create a future that's not just exciting and interesting and compelling, and that gives artists and creators the food that they need to eat and succeed in reaching human audiences. But in all of this high technology, I'm really curious about what humanity's response will be. I run I run a publication online that also does live events in New York called Paxlaria. You can go to it at paxlaria.net. And we explore the impact of high technology on humans, on art, on culture, on society, and on how these things will change. And I'm always looking for new collaborators, and I hope that you will go, visit us, look at our stuff, feedback contests, and reach out to me and let me know what you're working on, because I want to build a future together that we all feel happy with. Thank you, guys.